So good evening everyone. So let me share my screen. We'll start the session. So I hope my screen is visible. Let me know in the chat box. Okay. Okay. So yesterday we end up with ladder, right? So we have discussed if else, and if else if. We have completed until if else if. So today we will learn how nested if. Okay. So we will start with nested if. So nested if. So what is this nested if? So here in nested if, we will be having one if inside another if. So that is the reason we call it as nested if. Okay. So here we will have one if inside another if. Another if condition. So that is the reason we call it as nested if. If we are having multiple conditions to check, okay, then we will go with nested if. Okay, so if we have multiple conditions to check, then we will go with nested if. Okay, so coming to the syntax, how it look. So let me write the syntax. So we will be having if condition. Okay, so if this condition which I wrote inside this if is true, then we try to check one more if condition internally. Okay, so condition. Okay, and if this is also true, then we will execute the true implementation, or we can say if block implementation. If block implementation. Okay, so and we can have else block too. Okay, so with this we can have else block too. If you want only if, you can write only if. If you want if else, you can write if else inside one if condition. Okay, so we can have else part 2. So this is else implementation. Okay, so here I will be closing my if. So if you see, this is the one if, and I am writing that if inside another if. Okay, so if you want, based on our requirement, if we want, we can write else part 2, otherwise we can avoid. Okay, based on our requirement, we can change. So, and we can have else here also. So inside this else also, if we want to write if condition, if else, so we can write here also. So let me copy this and let me try to paste here. Okay, so inside else if we want, inside else part also we can write if condition. So based on the requirement, we will move for different patterns or different syntaxes. Okay, so this is about nested if. So having one if condition inside another if is called as nested if. Okay, so let me give one example. So my requirement to write the program is, so I will be having one number. Okay, I will be having one number, and I need to check whether that number is positive or negative or neutral. Okay, so I will be giving one number. My requirement is I am having one number, So that number may be positive, or it may be negative, or it may be neutral. Okay, so it may be positive number, or it may be negative number, or it may be neutral number. I need to find out this. Okay, after finding this, if it is a positive number, okay, then again I need to verify whether it is even or odd. Okay, I need to verify whether it is even or odd. Okay, so if it is a positive number, which number I have given, if it is a positive number, I need to again verify whether it is even or odd. Even or odd. Okay, this is my requirement. So how we will write the code for this? Okay, so we will see. So let me open my Eclipse. So it will take some time. So Okay, so now we try to write the program. So what is the requirement? I need to have one number, right? So let me declare a number first. Okay, so number, so let me give some 20. Okay, so I am having a number, and what I need to check? I need to check whether it is a positive number or not. Okay, what is positive number? What is negative number? So if a number is greater than 0, I can say it is a positive number, right? If a number is less than 0, then the negative series numbers, right? If the number is equals to 0, then I need to print that that number is neutral. Okay, so if number is greater than 0, okay, then it is a positive number. Then it is a positive number. Okay, so after that I need to check if this is false. Then I need to check one more condition also, right? I need to check whether it is negative or false, negative or neutral. So for that, else if, okay, so if I need to check whether the number is less than 0. Okay, whether the number is less than 0. So if this is true, then it should print something like it is a negative number. It is a negative number. Okay, if both are false, then I need to implement else part, which is it is neutral number, right? If it is not less than 0, it is not greater than 0, then it is 0. So by default it is a neutral number. So neutral number. Okay, and what is the one more requirement? If it is a positive number, then I need to check whether it is even or odd, right? So for that I am writing one more if inside this if. Okay, so if that number is a positive number, then I need to check whether it is divisible by 2 or not. So I showed we can do this with modulus operator and we can do this with AND operator too, right? So I am using bitwise AND operator. If number and bitwise AND, so I will be doing bitwise AND operation between the number and 1. If I get output something like 0, then it will be even. Okay, so then it is even number. Even number. So let me write in this in the bracket. Okay, else if it is not a even number, then obviously it is a odd number, right? So odd number. Okay, see, this is the implementation for our requirement. Okay, so I hope it is clear. Let me run with different data. So I have given 20, right? So let me run. See, it is a positive number and it is also even number. Okay, I am getting correct output. So let me give something like 15. Okay, so what it should print? It should print positive and odd number. So let me check. Yes, it is printing. It is a positive number and it is also odd number. Okay, so let me give some negative. So let me change this number to negative. Okay, so I need to get now as a negative number. So let me check. Yes, I am getting as a negative number. Okay, let me give 0. Let me give 0. So it should print neutral. So let me check. Yes, it is printing neutral number. So I hope it is clear. So please let me know in the chat box quickly. Okay, so now we try to learn one more operator here. So let me teach one operator. which is the replacement of if else. Okay, which is the replacement of if else. So we are having one operator called ternary operator. Okay, ternary operator. So this is the replacement of if else. We can use in the place of if else. So this operator is used in the replacement of if else. Okay, so in if else what we will be doing? First we will check the if condition. If it is true, we try to execute the if block. Otherwise it will execute else block, right? Either it will execute true implementation of if block, or it will execute false implementation of else part, right? So the same thing we can do with this operator too. Okay, so this ternary operator is having two operands. Okay, so it is having three operands and two operators. Okay, so this ternary operator is having three operands and two operators. So let me show the syntax. Okay, so coming to the syntax, first operand 1. Okay, so here we will write the condition. Okay, so here we will write the condition. Okay, here we will write the condition. So if that condition is, we will represent that condition with the help of question mark. Okay, so we try to put the brackets here. So inside these brackets we try to write the condition, and we will represent that condition with the help of question mark. Okay, so if this condition which I wrote is true, I need to implement one set of implementation. If this condition is false, I need to implement one more set of implementation, right? So for that, what we will do, here we will write true implementation. Okay, so this is one more operand. We can say this as one more operand, and this is the colon. So here we try to write false implementation. Okay, so totally we have three operands. This is one operand, this is one operand, and this is one operand, and this is one operator, and this is one operator. Okay, so here we will be having totally three operands and two operators. If this condition is true, then it will implement this true implementation. If this condition is false, then it will try to execute this false implementation. Okay, same like a if else. Okay, so now we try this ternary operator with small example. Let me show with the small example. Okay, so let me erase all these things. Okay, so let me show first with println statement. So I said, right, first we will be having condition. So that condition should be either true or false. So directly I try to keep true or false. Okay, so think that the condition is true for now. Okay, I am representing the condition. If this is true, I need to execute one set of implementation. So if it is true, I need to get hello as a output. Otherwise, I need to get bye as a output. Okay, so if this condition is true, then I need to get hello as a output. If it is false, I need to get bye as a output. So let me try to execute. See what I am getting? Hello, because I have given here condition true. Okay, I have given by default true. So let me delete this and let me make it as false. Okay, so now we try. See, I am getting by. Right? So this is how it works. This is how it works. And I can store this value in one variable also. Okay, let me show that way also. Let me save this. So let me copy, let me paste. Okay, so if I do this operation, I will get one output. So I can store that and I can print. So string, and let me give as result. Okay, so whatever the result I am getting, it will be stored here and I can print that variable. So the same output we will get. So let me show, let me run. So I'm getting boy. Okay, so this is also one of the way how we can do. Okay, so now we try to execute simple program with this by using this ternary operator. Okay, so let me check whether a number is even or odd. Okay, with this ternary operator. So we can do that by checking even or not odd. We can do that with if else, right? So let me check, can I do with this ternary operator or not. First, let me take one variable. Let me take some 10. Okay, so what is the condition I need to give to check whether it is a even or odd? So I can use modulus operator. Let me use modulus operator here. So modulus 2. So if I divide, it should give me 0. If that is true, then what it should give? It should print even. It should give even. Otherwise, it should give odd. Right? So that result will be stored here and I will be getting my result. So let me check. See, I am getting my result as even. Right? So let me change it to 11. Now let me execute. See, I am getting odd. Right? So whatever the operations or whatever the problem solving we can do with if else, we can do with the ternary operator too, because it is the replacement of if else. So whatever the solving we can do with the help of if else, so we can do the same thing with the ternary operator too. Okay, so and we will check, we will try to write one more program. So we will check whether which one is means I will take two numbers and we need to check greater number. So let me take one more number like number 2 and I am giving some 20. I need to check the greatest among these two numbers. So let me give as number 1. Now what is the condition for that? What is the condition? So normally what we will do? First, we will try with if else. So if the number 1 is greater than number 2, then directly I try to print what I try to print. So number 1 is greater than, right? Number 1 is greater, right? Else what we will do? We try to print number 2 is greater, right? So this is how we solve that greatest among two numbers with the help of if else. So the same thing we can do with the help of ternary also. So what is the condition I need to write? First I need to check whether number 1 is greater than number 2. Okay, so if it is greater, then what I should print? If it is greater, number 1 is greater, right? If it is false, I should print number 2 is greater. Okay, so this is how it works. So let me erase this for now and let me try to execute this. So see, I am getting number 2 as greater. So let me change it to 110. Sorry. And let me execute. Number 1 is greater. So I am getting the correct output, right? So this is how we can use the ternary operator. So I hope it is clear. So let me know in the chat box quickly. Okay. So now we try to move with switch operator. So we will learn switch operator. So switch operator. Okay. So what is this switch operator? When we will use this switch operator? Right? So basically, if we have so many conditions to check, okay, if we have so many decisions to make, at that time we go with switch. Okay, so it is nothing but alternative for the if else if. Okay, so this switch operator works as alternative has if else if, or we can say ladder. Okay, it is an alternative of ladder. Okay, so when we want to check so many conditions, at that time we try to go with switch operator. Okay, so let me write the syntax. So coming to the syntax, so how it looks, switch. Okay, so inside this we try to write a variable, or we try to give a variable, or we try to write an expression. Okay, so under this we try to open the flower braces of switch, we try to close here, and inside this we will be having some cases. Okay, inside this we will be having some cases, like case. So we can have any number of cases. Okay, and here also we will be writing variable or expression, and this data type and this data type should match. Okay, so this data type and this data type should match. Okay, so and we try to give colon here, so we try to write the statements here, or we can say it as implementation statements. We can write any number of statements, and we try to end up this case with the break keyword. Okay, so like this we can have any number of cases. In one switch statement we can have any number of cases. So like this. Like this we can have any number of cases in one switch statement. Okay, so how it works? So first it will check this variable or expression. Okay, so based on the value which is present inside that variable or expression, it will try to compare with these cases. Okay, so think that this is not matched with this case. Okay, now it will go to the second case. It will check whether this case is matching with this or not. So if it is matching, then it will enter inside this case and try to execute all the statements of that particular case. Okay, so once it was completed, then it will go to this break statement. So once it visits the break statement, then it will automatically come out of the switch. Okay, not out of the case, it will come out of the switch. Means it won't go for another case, it will directly come out of the switch. Okay, so here also we will be having something called as default case. Okay, we can have default case. So if no case is matching, then this default case will match. Then this default statement will execute. Okay, so if we write this default at last, there is no need of break. So when there is made of break for default, I will say while executing the program. Okay, so this is the syntax of the switch case. Okay, so we try to write one small program with the help of this. So okay, so I will be giving a number from 1 to 7. So I need to check if the number is 1, it need to print like Sunday. If number is 2, it need to print like Monday, Tuesday, like that. Okay, so let me give for now like 4. Okay, I am writing switch. By defaultly you will get, but for now let me write. Okay, so here what is the variable I need to give number. Okay, so number, and let me have some cases inside it. So case first, if this variable is storing 1, okay, then what I need to print? I need to print something like Sunday. I need to print something like Sunday. After this, break. Okay, so after this let me have second case also. So let me change to case 2, and no two cases should match. If you observe, I am getting error here. No two cases should match. Okay, so let me give 2. It need to print Monday. Okay, so coming to the next, let me have one more case. So the number is 3 and I need to print as Tuesday. Okay, so this break should come here, and let me have one more case, the last case. Like 4. Okay, Wednesday. Okay, so let me have break. So let me write default also. Default case. So if no case is matching, then it should print like default. It should print this statement. Okay, so what is the number I have given? 4. That 4 stored inside this variable. So now it will be the variable inside the switch. Okay, so here 4 is stored. So you try to check whether this 4 is matching with this. No, this is 1, this is 4, not matching. So it will go to second case. Okay, it will check whether this 4 is matching with this 2. No, it is not matching. Then it will come to third case. It will check whether this number is matching with this. No, it will go to fourth case. Now it will check whether this number is matching with this. Yes, it got matched. Then it will go inside the case. It will try to print this Wednesday, and it will visit this break statement, and it will come out of the switch. Okay, it will come out of the switch. Okay, so let me check, let me run this program. So see, I am getting Wednesday as output, right? So let me give some 2. So I am getting as Monday. Okay, so let me give something like 20, which is not matching. Okay, so see, I got default statement. Okay, so this is how it works. And one more thing. So some may ask like whether this break statement is necessary in switch. Okay, so this break statement usually used to exit from the switch. Here in switch we use this break to exit from the switch. Okay, so what happens if I won't give this break? Let me erase this break for this and let me give as 2. Okay, now observe the result. See, I am getting Monday, Tuesday. But I need to get only Monday, right? But I am getting Tuesday also because here break statement is missing. What is happening means, first it will come to this case, it will check whether it is matching or not. Not matching, it will go to next case. It will check whether it is matching or not matching. Yes, it is matching. Then it will go to here. It will try to print this statement. And next there is nothing. Then it will directly enter to the third case also. Okay, it won't check for the condition. Directly it enters the third case also. And it try to execute this. After that, it found this break statement. So it will try to exit from the switch. Okay, so let me erase this break also. Now let's see output. See, I'm getting up to Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, this is how it works. So it directly enters the another case statement and try to execute another case statement. So that is the reason break keyword is necessary inside switch. Okay, so break is necessary inside switch. I hope it is clear. So next question is, can't I have this default on top? Let me save this. Sorry, let me copy this. Can't I have here my default statement? Can't I have here? Whether it won't work fine. Let me check. Okay, so I have given 2. So what should be the output? Monday. So let me run. What I'm getting? Monday. Correct output. Let me give 4. Wednesday. Correct output. Right? Let me give some 5 which is not there. I'm getting default and Sunday. So can anyone say why I'm getting default and Sunday also? Can anyone say? Can anyone say why I'm getting default and Sunday also? Why I'm getting default and Sunday also? Can anyone say? Yes, break statement is missing there. Okay, so if I write default, okay, case at top, then break statement is necessary. Okay, so if I try to write this default statement at the end, then it is not necessary to write break. Okay, but if I am trying to write the default case on top, okay, I should mention break statement. Okay, so this is the thing. So I hope it is clear about switch. So this switch will means this variable can be of any data type. Okay, so it will allow string also. Okay, char also it will allow. Okay, you can have any data type. Okay, so let me check. Char number I am giving something like a. Okay, so let me check. So I am giving here a. Okay, so this and this should match. Okay, the data types of this and this case should match. So B, C, Okay, so let me check. I given as A and I got Sunday. Okay, you can have character too, you can have string too. Okay, so I hope it is clear. So let me know in the chat box. I hope it is clear. The switch, is it clear? Okay. So now we try to move for looping statements. Okay, so looping statements. So what is this looping statements? Why we use this looping statements? Correct? So why we need these looping statements? Looping statements are needed if there is a block of code. Think that there is a block of code. Okay. If that block of code I need to execute multiple times. Okay. If there is a block of code and that block of code I need to execute multiple times, then I need to go with looping statements. Okay. So then I need to go with looping statements. Okay. So when it is needed, if there is a block of code, which we need to execute for multiple times, multiple times, then I need to go with looping statement. Okay, and the thing is, it is mostly used for repetitive task. Okay, repetitive task. To perform repetitive task, we use this looping statements. Okay, with the help of this looping statements, we can reduce the boilerplate code. Okay, so we can reduce boilerplate code. What is this boilerplate code? Right? So let me show. So I want to print hello world for 5 times. So normally for that what we can do? We can have 5 printing statements like hello world. Okay, so I can have 5 printing statements like this. So let me copy paste for 5 times. So this is the way we normally will do. Okay, this is the one of the way how we can print 5 times hello world. But if you observe, the statement is same, and here also the statement is same, right? So what I am doing, I am writing the same statement multiple times. Okay, so the first line is okay, but this comes under boilerplate code, means repetitive code, repetition of the code, that is called as boilerplate code. In order to reduce this boilerplate code, in order to reduce the repetition of the code, we go with looping statements. Okay, so to reduce the boilerplate code, we go with looping statements. I hope it is clear. And here we are having different kinds of loops. Okay, so let me write. First one is we are having something like for loop. Okay, and we are having while loop and do while loop. Okay, these are all the types of loops. So first we try to discuss about for loop. Okay, for loop. Now let me write the syntax for the for loop first. So syntax. How the syntax for loop looks. So we will start with one keyword called for, and inside we will be having initialization. Okay, initialization block and semicolon and semicolon, and later we will be having condition. Okay, and later semicolon, and we will be having updation or upgradation. Okay, so updation. So inside this we can have some implementation or instructions. We can have implementation or instruction, and we try to end up the for loop here. So this is the syntax for the for loop. Okay, so we will be having initialization block first, later condition, later updation. Okay, this updation mostly we will use unary operators. So unary operators are nothing but increment and decrement operators. We try to use here. Okay, condition. Normally we can write condition with the help of logical operators, with the help of relational operators, right? So here we try to initialize a variable. Okay, here we try to initialize a variable. So whatever the implementation or the logic we need to write inside this, we try to write inside this for loop. So this is the syntax of for loop. Okay, so now we will see how it will work. Okay, so let me show with one example. I need to print 1 to 5 numbers. So for that, what I will do first initialization. I need to initialize to print numbers, right? First I need to initialize one variable. So int I is equals to 1. Okay, initialization was completed, and later I need to print only 1 to 5. Means I need to have one condition that should stop me at 5 or after 5, right? If I try to print 6, it need to stop. For that I need to write condition, right? So I less than or equals to 5. So if this condition is true, then only it need to execute. Otherwise it should not execute. It should stop. Okay. So next, which is updation, like I++. Okay. So for each and every iteration, it need to update. Right? So it need to update. It need to increase by 1. That is why I have given increment operator. So later, here I can write the statement. So let me write. So I need to print I. Okay. So what happens? How this for loop works? Okay. So first initialization will happen. Okay. I will store. What I will store? I will store 1. Okay. So coming to here, it will check the condition. Okay. So whether 1 less than or is equals to 5 or not. Yes, it is true. If the condition is true only, then it will enter here. Okay. So first it will initialize, and later it will check the condition. After checking condition, it won't go for updation. Directly enter the for loop, and it will try to execute this. Now here it will print 1. Okay. Later from here, it will go to, from here it will go to, no other statements are there to execute, right? From here it will go to here. Okay. Now I++ means I need to be increased by, what is this? Post increment or pre increment? Post increment, right? So what it will do? It will first it will assign the value or print the value, later it will increment, right? So it will increment by 1. So now I will become 2. Okay. Now again it will come to this condition. Okay. From here to here. Okay. So after coming to this condition, it will check whether 2 is less than or is equals to 5 or not. If it is true, then it will again enter, print this statement. Now it will try to print 2. Okay. After printing, it will go to here. It will increment by 1. Right? Now I will become 3. Okay. Again it will check the condition. Okay. Whether 3 less than or is equals to 5? Yes. Now it will print this. It will print 3 now. Okay, now again it will update. It will update to 4. Now again it will check the condition. It will enter the loop. Try to print 4. Okay, after that it will go to update. Now I value is 5. Is 5 less than or is equals to 5? Yes, the condition is true. Now it will again go to the statement. It will try to print 5. And again it will go to updation. It will go to 6. Right? The updation will happen to 6. So now it will check whether 6 less than or is equals to 5. No, the condition false. So it will exit the for loop. So this is how it works. Okay. So what is the flow of execution? What is the flow of execution? First, this is the first block which need to be executed. Later, what will be executed? This condition will be executed. Later, this implementation will get executed. Okay, so this implementation will get executed. Later, it will go to updation. Okay, it will go to updation. So after updation, where it will go? It will again go to condition. Right? So that what happens? It will again go to condition. That is what happens. So this is the flow of execution for the for loop. Okay, this is how it executes. First, initialization will execute only one time. For one for loop, the initialization will get executed only one time. Okay, and it won't visit again. Only one time it will execute. Later it will check the condition. If that is true, it will try to print the implementation. Again it will go to updation. From updation again condition, again implementation, updation, condition, implementation. So this is how it works. Okay, so one cycle here. So if we first cycle will be there, right? So first it will go to initialization, later condition, implementation, updation, right? So this is one cycle. Okay, so one cycle means nothing but here we call it as one iteration. Okay, so if it completes one cycle of loop body, then we call it as iteration. What we call it as? We call it as iteration. Okay, so if it completes one loop body, okay, one time of loop body, we call it as iteration. Okay, so in this example, how many iterations we are having? 5 iterations, right? 5 iterations. 5 times it will go to this condition, later come back, later go to updation. This is one iteration. Later it will go to condition, it will go to printing, later it will updation. Like this it is taking 5 iterations. Okay, so based on our condition, our iteration will depend. Okay, so this is how the for loop works. I hope it is clear. Let me execute this. Okay, so let me give here comment. See, if you guys observe, I got my output. So 1 to 5 it got printed. Okay, so this is how it works. So now there are so many things in the for loop. Okay, so we try to learn some. Okay, so in the for loop, this initialization part, the initialization part is there, right? This part, is it necessary to write? Is it necessary to write? No. Okay, without this initialization also we can have for loop. Okay, without this initialization also we can have for loop. So initialization part in for loop is not necessary. Okay, because we can initialize outside. We can initialize outside. So is it necessary to have initialization inside this for loop? No, not necessary. But make sure even though you are not having any initialization, you need to keep some space for the initialization and you need to have this semicolon. Okay, so the semicolon is separating each and every block from here, right? So you should have semicolon even though you are not having initialization there. Okay, so instead of having initialization inside for loop, we can have initialization outside. So we can say initialization is not necessary to have inside the for loop. Okay, so now whether it will execute in the same way? Yes. Let me show. Let me run. See, I'm getting the same output. I'm getting the same output, right? So this is how. So in for loop, so we may have in competitive exams we may get some questions like this. So okay, so in for loop, is initialization is important? No. Okay, so the initialization the initialization part inside for loop is not necessary. For loop is not necessary. Okay, we can have initialization part outside the for loop. Okay, so what is the difference between having initialization inside for loop and outside for loop? Okay, so if we have initialization inside for loop, then we can access that variable only inside this for loop. Okay, that is called as local variable. Okay, that is the local variable if we have initialization like this. Okay, so this variable is the local variable for this for loop. Okay, so if we want to write something like this, like value, I cannot print. If you guys observe, I have initialized here value is equals to 0. I am trying to print here. Okay, but I am getting error. So what is the error? Value cannot be resolved to a variable. Means once the execution of the for loop got completed, this variable will be destroyed. Okay, this is the local variable for this for loop. So once the for loop got executed, okay, so this variable will be destroyed from the memory space. Okay, so the JVM can, if I try to print that variable, JVM cannot find the value for that variable because it is already collected by the garbage, as it is not in use. It is the local variable for this for loop. Okay, so it is the local variable, so it can be accessible only within that for loop. If we try to access outside it, that variable will be destroyed once after completing this for loop. So if I try to print after execution of for loop, I cannot find the value. JVM cannot find the value, so we will get this error. Okay, I hope it is clear. So I can have initialization outside also, so it will work fine. Okay, and the next thing is the condition is necessary to have inside this for loop? Is the condition is necessary to have? No. Okay, without condition also I can execute my for loop. Okay, without condition also I can execute my for loop, but the difference is if I am not having any condition here, okay, by defaultly for loop will consider it as a true. Okay, by defaultly it will consider it as a true. So if it consider it as a true, then what about the result for this for loop? It will be infinite, right? I have initialized here 1. So initialization I is equals to 1. I is equals to 1. Okay, so by defaultly the condition is true, right? So it will enter the for loop. It will try to print 1. Here it will try to print 1. Later it will go to updation. Now it will be updated to 2. Again the condition will be true. Again it will come here. It will print 2. Later update 3. True. Means for each and every iteration the condition is false. Right? So I will get infinite loop. Okay. So I will get infinite loop. Let me run this. So see, I'm getting infinite here, right? So infinite loop. So this is what happens. So let me stop. Okay. So this is what happens. We will get infinite. So by default, if there is no condition, the for loop will consider it as a true. Okay. It will consider it as a true. Okay. So is it necessary to have condition inside for loop? No. Okay. So let me write that. The condition is also not necessary inside for loop. By default it is true. If we won't give any condition, by default it is true. Okay, so that what my next question is it important to have this updation also? No. Okay, without this updation also my for loop will work. Okay, so no block is important inside the for loop. We can work our for loop without giving any block also. So now can anyone say what will be the output? If there is no updation, by constant I will be 1, right? I will be 1. So first I is 1. By default the condition is true. It will enter here. It will print 1. There is no updation. No updation means I value is 1 only. Then again it will check condition. By default the condition is true. Again it will go to here, print 1. Means it will print 1 infinite times. Okay, so let me check. So let me clear this console first. Yes. Let me execute. See, if you guys observe, I'm getting 1 for infinite times. Okay, so this is how it works. Let me stop. Let me clear the console too. So this is how it works. So updation is also not necessary inside for loop. Okay, so we can have for loop without these 3 blocks. Okay, so this is called as empty for loop. Okay, so the next thing is we can have for loop without updation also. Okay, so it is also not mandatory. I hope it is clear about for loop, right? So let me know in the chat box quickly. Is it clear about the for loop? Let me know quickly.